A Russian woman with links to the murdered Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia turned herself into police in Greece last week. She says she fears for her life. A former employee of Pilatus Bank in Malta, Maria Efimova, was one of Caruana Galizia's main sources in an investigation that alleged corruption at the highest level of Maltese politics, including Prime Minister Joseph Muscat. Daphne Caruana Galizia was killed in a car bomb in October. The investigation into who ordered the killing is still ongoing. After the murder, Efimova fled to Greece, but she's been the subject of 2 arrest warrants from the Maltese authorities. She's still in Greece, fighting to avoid extradition. The Greek MEP Stelios Kologlou supports Efimova's claim to secure residency in Greece and insists it would be dangerous to send her back to Malta. He says the arrest warrant against Maria Efimova is based on ridiculous accusations by Malta's authorities. Her possible extradition would seriously jeopardize her life. Greek justice must take into serious consideration the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia, to whom Maria Efimova had revealed a lot of information concerning financial scandals. Let's try to make sense of all the twists and turns. Let's speak to Manuel Delia. He was the press secretary of the former Prime Minister of Malta. He's now a blogger on Maltese politics and was mentored by Daphne Caruana Galizia during the last few months of her life. Manuel, thank you very much for your time. Can you just remind us of the main findings of Daphne's investigations which included looking into the Panama Papers?
Daphne discovered stories about all the politicians involved in corruption in Malta, at least the ones we know of. Her biggest story was that at Pilatus Bank, which you mentioned in your introduction, there was evidence, physical evidence, that the Prime Minister's wife held a secret Panama company. We knew from the Panama Papers and revelations before that Daphne Caruana Galizia had published that the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff had a secret Panama company and the Minister for Energy had a secret Panama company. She also revealed how they went around the world trying to set up bank accounts. She reported that they finally managed in Dubai, in spite of the fact that they were politically exposed persons, earning a salary of a few tens of thousands of euros a year, but promising their bank that they would be depositing at least $1 million a year. These revelations broke out about 2 years ago now. Panama Papers broke out over a year ago, and yet none of these persons being mentioned have been properly investigated by the authorities. Impunity has gone on, and in the meantime, the journalist that discovered these stories is dead.
What about the investigation into her death? At what stage is that?
There has been successful arrests of people who are believed to have been involved in the actual physical execution of the crime. So the people who put the bomb and turned on the detonator and ultimately killed her. Those people currently are in jail. Evidence against them is being heard, and eventually they will be tried. And the evidence against them is compelling. However, there's been no word whatsoever on who put them up and who paid for this assassination. These are people the people who are under arrest are people whom Daphne Caruana Galizia did not know. She never wrote about. They had no reason to kill her. And from what has been discovered in these investigations, have before been involved in other bombings. So they are hired hands, professional bombers. The real question is who put them up to it. And those investigations, there's no news coming out of the police. Incidentally, that is also a matter of controversy. It is something that the relatives, the family, the sons of Daphne Caruana Galizia have had to go to court about, because leading the investigations is a politically exposed person, the Assistant Commissioner of Police, whose wife is a minister in Joseph Muscat's government. And there clearly is an indication that there isn't much enthusiasm to try to find out who wanted Daphne dead.
Manuel, you've said it yourself, there's a lot of money involved here, and the bank's Iranian director, Ali Sadr Hashemi Nejad, he's been indicted in Manhattan. The allegations against him are that he evaded American sanctions against Iran by funneling around $115 million of Iranian money through business dealings in Venezuela and Malta. In an environment like that, it becomes very difficult to know who to trust. Who is this politician you're talking about that is themselves under scrutiny? Who appointed that politician?
Well, the Prime Minister has, in Malta, essentially secured control of all the institutions. The Chief of Police that we have, the Commissioner of Police, who in Malta can be hired and fired by the Prime Minister at will, is the 5th Commissioner of Police in 4 years. When you have that sort of rotation, when you have that sort of movement, it is clear that the Prime Minister himself physically has control and personally has control of the people who potentially should be investigating him and people close to him. Even if he's not involved, and I'm not saying that he is, in the killing of Daphne Caruana Galizia, certainly people close to the government, people within government, have to be on the suspect list and should be investigated. You speak of Ali Sadr, who is in a jail indicted for multiple counts of bank fraud and money laundering. Daphne Caruana Galizia had been writing about Ali Sadr and about Pilatus Bank for 2 years, and no one went to knock on the door and actually investigate what was happening at Pilatus Bank. Certainly, no action has been taken that we know of until the Americans moved in and took the action they needed to take. Daphne Caruana Galizia wrote about this. She wrote about the sale of Maltese citizenship, passports, to oligarchs. And now we are finding that the services provided in the sale of passports are related to the services provided by Pilatus Bank. And the third link in this, clearly, is the amenability of the Maltese government to be flexible for the potential clients of these services. So basically what they do is they find a foothold within the European Union to get citizenship of the European Union, to get banking facilities through which to pass money into or out of the European Union. This has been something that Daphne Caruana Galizia has been reporting for quite some time, and it might explain why she's no longer with us.
Maria Efimova is fighting this extradition. She doesn't want to go to Malta. She worked for that bank. As we've said, she was one of the main sources for Daphne's investigations. What do you think will happen to Maria Efimova, a Russian citizen, if she goes back to Malta?
Look, for a European Union member state to refuse a request for extradition from another European Union member state is virtually unheard of. The European Union is designed for cooperation, and when a country asks for a person to be sent over, another country usually sends them over. As you mentioned in your introduction, there are very specific circumstances to this case. There is the danger to Maria Efimova's life. I think it's reasonable to say that she's in danger when you see what happened to Daphne Caruana Galizia just 6 months ago, less than 6 months ago. There's also the fact that the Maltese authorities are chasing Maria Efimova on an international arrest warrant over an alleged misappropriation of less than 2,000 euros. This allegation was made by Ali Sadr, who's now in New York in a jail facing 125 years in prison for his financial crimes. When you see things, you have to weigh on one side the need for EU member states to cooperate on justice, and on the other side, the need to protect sources. If you do not protect sources, you cannot have journalists. And if you cannot have journalism, independent journalism, you cannot have democracy. And these are the considerations that the Greek government and the Greek authorities must be making right now.
Manuel Delia, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you for joining us on the Newsmakers.
Thank you.